Something very interesting happened to me at work the other day.
What?
I was working all day, was fine. I was closing, so I was there pretty late. I think it was around like 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I got off work, I walked to my car, not thinking anything, hopped in my car, found out I had a huge rip in my crotch all day. I was wearing jeans and there was a huge rip.
You told me about this. Where exactly was the rip at? Right in the crotch?
Right in the middle of my pant leg to halfway up the butt. Nobody said one thing to me, so either they didn't see it or they were too embarrassed to tell me.
Okay. Well,
I still work there, sometimes. So nobody like, dude, you walked around all day with a huge hole in your butt, you're fired type thing.
Yeah, it's not on the application.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came up with the topic idea or the conversation direction. So what are we talking about?
Our experience doing freelance video work, primarily like wedding photography. Well, not photography, but videography.
Yeah. I've done a good bit of other kind of projects, but you wanted to talk about wedding.
Well, not just, specifically weddings. Just I was thinking of a funny story of just our experience, just to give someone who's very green to just their experience of getting into a job and sometimes doing terrible at it because you're very new.
Okay, well, let me tell you this one job. It's not a wedding video.
Yeah.
I did a production for a realtor way back in like 2015. When I first moved to Columbia, and I had him look at a contract and everything. I was going to do a promotion video, so it was a video that he intended to send to people that want to use him to sell their home, not someone coming to buy a home through him, you know? And he had a whole agency that works with him and for him. And I told him in the contract, there's kind of like a 3-month time period. I was getting started. I didn't do hardly any freelance stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was making it up as I went along and acting like I knew what I was doing. Or the whole thing with contracts is a weird business. Unless you're like really comfortable with it, and unless you know that the stipulations in a contract is good based on experience, then it's always really weird and awkward exchange. Because you're like saying, this is like a list of things I think is reasonable, and this is like the price, and this is, the agreed upon things. And I was like, hey, look over the contract, just, get it back to me whenever you're good. And he just like signed it and just handed it back to me. And I was like, okay, he didn't look over it, Well, I guess he looked over it. So I decided I was going to cover a few of the stipulations with him so he knew what he just signed. And I just pretty much said like, hey, I charge this much an hour. I'm going to keep an hour log so I know how much the project ends up being. Well, in modern terms, he hadn't done any video projects before, so he didn't really know, not on a professional level. I wouldn't say I was super professional, but he didn't know what price points there are for video production. You know, he was like wanting to do a whole bunch of video projects, and he was like recording himself on this weird low res GoPro in his office, with no lighting or anything. So he didn't know anything about video production. He definitely didn't know anything about prices. I was relatively low. I think the project ended up being about $1,200. And we had this awkward exchange when I brought him the invoice, and I was like, so this is the project. And he looked at it and he was like, this is a lot higher than I thought. I was like, what do you want me to tell you?
You signed it.
You signed the contract. I said it would be this much an hour. I had the hours logged. I said, this is like the hours I spent on this. I didn't just make up hours. I wrote down when I worked on it, and here's how much hours I spent on it. I think I ended up spending like 30 something hours on it, And that's, at a competitive price point, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And so he just didn't seem happy. He just signed a check, and then his receptionist said that she mentioned they want to do more video projects with me. I tried calling. They said, yeah, probably more video projects. And then I tried calling again and no answer. I tried calling again and no answer. So I think they cut me off and said, no, this guy charges too much, or this guy doesn't deliver what we thought he would deliver or something. So that was a really awkward exchange. That has nothing to do with wedding videos, though. Freelance videography is sometimes the worst. And sometimes it works out perfectly and it was a pleasant experience. But a lot of the times it's the worst.
Yeah. I haven't done like a ton of freelance work, but of the weddings I've helped you with,
Yeah.
I've helped you with a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first wedding I did with you was in
Columbia.
No.
Rock Hill, Charlotte?
It was in Greenville, closer to Greenville, South Carolina. Do you remember?
Whose wedding?
It was someone that was related to Mackenzie. Do you remember? You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Whew, that airplane. Yeah. I remember her.
I don't remember
her
name.
name is escaping me. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I remember you were there. Yeah, Autumn.
Yes.
And we did her wedding. That was my second wedding I worked on.
Yeah.
I think it was my second.
It was kind of like...
No, it was my third. It was my third wedding. And so pretty much what you did was I didn't know how to utilize you, but I was a little nervous about missing everything because I was still early on.
Yeah.
I think at this point I've done like almost 10 weddings. I think. I've done a handful.
Only?
Give me a break,
I'm
Joshua.
saying like, I thought you've done a lot more than that. I thought your number was
I
up
have
there.
to list them out and figure out how many, but I think it's close to 10 last time if it's not 10. But yeah, I just brought you along as like a second video camera guy, and you just like got shots along with me throughout the day, right?
Yeah, it
pretty
was
much
very
the whole day.
Kind of awkward, I guess, because you were the one
Yeah.
filming, and then I was kind of there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you like had an exchange before and be like, hey, it's gonna be me and my brother filming.
It did. I brought you along. I think I paid you some.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid a lot for that project. I paid you some to kind of help me get, like, I'm always nervous when I go into weddings. I'm pretty confident now.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was going into a wedding. I'm like, weddings, it's like a one-shot thing. If you don't get it, you missed it, and people are going to be asking you, why did I not get this moment in the video? And you're going to be like, well, because I missed it. You know what I mean? So I always got nervous about that, and so that's why I brought you along primarily, to try to ease my anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
And so early on, I was only charging like $300, you know, for like a highlight video that's around 4 to 6 minutes. My prices are much higher now, because I have done quite a few, and I've put together a format that is a very nice wedding video. But yeah, I remember that was your first one. My first one was actually for my brother-in-law. He wasn't my brother-in-law at the time. I was dating his younger sister. Now we're married.
That seems a little younger sister the way you say that.
We were in a serious dating mode. So we were very coupled up. It wasn't like casual at all. Our relationship has always been relatively serious dating mode. So I did it kind of as a gift because I knew I could do it because I've done highlight videos, I've done event videos, but I hadn't done one for a wedding, and there were certain pressures on me, and I was like, I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know what it's going to feel like. I don't know if I'm going to miss something.
Yeah.
So I did it as a gift for free, you know? And I did it that one time, and it turned out really beautiful from what I can remember. And I was like, wow, I'm good at this. And then like the next one I did was even more beautiful. The next one I did was Morgan's, I think. And I was like, man, I'm getting good at this. And I did the one with you, and it wasn't as beautiful.
I don't know if it was, how it turned out.
It's hard to know. There has to be a perfect balance of a really pretty venue. There has to be a really perfect balance of like, it has to be lit well. You know, you can't be in darkness the whole wedding, because then your video is going to be trash, because video needs a good bit of light. And then it also just comes down to, from a factor that I control, how much creative ability I have that day. You know what I mean? Because you can just film the stuff, but it won't end up being really memorable video unless you choose to make some creative decisions that you have to figure out as you go throughout the whole day.
I've said the expression probably on this channel before, but we've talked about this, where people say YouTube is kind of like the Wild West of just entertainment, because people do whatever they can to basically get their stuff monetized. I think wedding photography or videography is the Wild West of beginning out doing freelance work.
Here's the thing, though.
You could have someone that is like very country, doesn't care about the video that much, and just does something very basic and was like, that's great, you captured it, that's great.
That's exactly what they expected.
Or you have someone that wants their wedding to be the best and to have the best video come out perfectly. And not everybody gets married, but a lot of people get married, and they always have this set standard of what they want. Yeah. Like, it has to have a photographer or a videographer. You have to do this, this, and this. So
you also have the mindset going into it that when someone, because I've been married, I know what this feels like, but also because I've been on the one side of hiring people to make the wedding happen, I kind of didn't bring as much of a pressure to it. So the big pressure you feel as a videographer is that you've been hired to capture in video form one of the most important days of their life. You know what I mean? Could be a bad memory in the future, but at the time, one of the most important days of their life. That's a lot of pressure. And they've been hired you, and they expect you to do that. So if you don't deliver what they imagine, then you feel the pressure like you've screwed up their life.
Have you ever had one of those days where you just came away from the project and you're like, that was bad?
I think 2 times.
I don't feel good about that.
2 times.
What were they?
Both of them, ironically, one wasn't terrible, one was terrible, which I'll talk about. And I'm not going to, I've done 10 weddings, and I'm not going to name people's names because I don't want anyone to come across this and feel like, you know, I have bad memories of their wedding or anything. But one wedding I did was I was recording just the ceremony, and the room was really dark. The room was filled with people. I mean, it was a smaller space that packed a crap ton of people in there, you know?
Yeah. Which it seems like a lot of ceremonies are that way.
No, not always.
No, I mean,
you just have to have a space that accommodates it. This place did not accommodate for that many people. It was not social distancing, if you know what I mean. It's impossible to. It was packed, and it was a really long ceremony, and I got it, you know? I got the different angles, but like the audio quality wasn't the best. So I made do, and they were like coming to me after and be like, hey, did you get some audio quality of like this one singer who sang during the ceremony? You know what I mean? And I was like, no, I didn't.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. You could hear them, but they were in the back of the room.
It's like they had a vision of what they wanted, but...
Yeah, everyone has a vision of what they want.
You do.
And they compare it to other videos that they've seen.
Yeah. Most times it's not it's way out of their price range.
Yeah, exactly.
They've seen someone great, and they're like, I don't want to pay... I'm only going to pay this much, but...
I want to pay $200, but I want my video to look like I paid $5,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And so... Yeah, it's a bit tricky. That happened one time. It wasn't a terrible experience. but it was a little disappointing because I could feel that they were okay with it, but it didn't make them real happy. You know what I mean? It didn't make them happy to see it. The last few weddings I've done, the people have got back with me and been like, I love it. It's beautiful. We love the video. That's a great feeling because you're like worked up with stress and anxiety the whole time, and you finish the project, you send it to them, and they say, it's perfect. That's a beautiful feeling. And I got that initially because the first wedding I did for my brother-in-law, they said that to me. I did the video, and they're like, oh, it's so great. We were crying and stuff. It was beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I can do this every time. But it just doesn't happen like that all the time. And you have to be willing to be okay with that. Also, just the mindset of thinking like, your reputation can be damaged, but ultimately there's a lot of people in the world, and there's always, in the video world, there's always another chance.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people in the world. All you got to do is just do another project that doesn't suck, and then you've moved past it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true.
And so you can't like beat yourself up forever for one, downer project. But what are your thoughts on this? I've been talking for a minute.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the projects. Okay, have you done any weddings by yourself?
By myself, no.
Okay.
With you, I've done a couple. Not the main filmer for a lot of them.
I brought you on ones that I record the ceremony, and
that's
just a highlight.
Yeah, that's mainly
because
what
I need usually a
do.
second camera person there to keep an eye on. Because I usually have like a 3-camera thing going on, so I need at least another person there to keep track of at least one of the cameras.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, it's always feels awkward because most of the time I don't know anybody there. I mean,
You just show up and stand behind the camera.
yeah,
But that's a part of it, Throw a little money your way, and you do the job. That's the way the world works.
It's like so many people are there because they're trying to enjoy the big day of somebody.
The wedding,
and
yeah.
You're just like, I don't know any of these people.
Okay,
and
also,
a little bit odd.
This is another thing that I think should just, in general, never be the case. I would seriously question ever doing a project for a wedding who says like it's a coat and tie wedding, and even the videographers and photographers have to adhere to that. I don't think I would do a wedding that is a wedding like that.
I don't know.
If I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna work at any point during this, I am gonna wear what I want. I'm gonna dress up respectively, but I'm gonna be comfortable. I'm not wearing a freaking 3-piece suit.
If you go into that though, it's going to be a great venue. Like it's going to be very beautiful.
Nope.
You don't think so?
No, because I've done one. It wasn't amazing.
I don't know. For me, it seems like it'd probably be a more beautiful venue, and so it'd be easier to capture. No?
Mm-mm. That's not the case. That's
so your one experience with it.
The most beautiful weddings. I've done like 3 really beautiful weddings. 3 videos that I'm really happy of. All of them. I showed up in a button-up in like skinny jeans, and they were cool. They didn't force me to wear anything. And that's fine. It's great. I did a great job that day because I was comfortable and I wasn't caring about what I had on my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just a helpful tip. If you're planning a wedding, don't make everyone there have to wear a suit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the one bad experience, or I've reached this a couple times throughout. There was one time that it was the worst, and it's happened a couple times. If you just get a photographer that you have to work with all day, or you have to be around all day, that you're most likely going to interact with more than anyone else there, photographers are usually can make or break that point. Because I always come up.
They're the most important part.
Yeah, they do.
But
they do.
Which they are important part because that's what people are used to, getting the wedding photos.
People have been doing wedding photos forever.
Videos are just as important.
It just depends on people's values, honestly.
Yeah.
Pictures is a standard, I guess, for weddings. Excuse me. Video is just kind of a bonus. And so I do kind of take a back seat and don't try to dictate to anybody or put pressure on the photographer. I usually will introduce myself, be very pleasant, be like charming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you get to a point in the day where you are annoyed with each other, then it's gonna be a bad day, and the video's gonna suck. I don't know why it sucks. It just does at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Well, because you're not in the zone knowing what to record and getting what you need to.
Also, photographers have this really bad habit of not communicating with anyone but maybe their second shooter if they brought a second photographer. So like during the ceremony, they'll just like stand in the aisle the whole time, which I know that's the prime spot for photos, but just communicate with the videographer and say, hey, maybe you want a shot from the back as well, you know? Like what's going to work for everybody and not just the photographer getting their picture while you're literally blocking the bride and groom from my video. You know what I mean?
That would be a pain.
There was just one time that I was recording from the back of the room. I've stopped recording from the back of the room as my primary camera. I have two primary cameras doing over the shoulders from the two sides of the room of the bride and the groom's faces looking at each other. And my third backup camera's in the back. But there was one time I had a primary camera in the back, and I had to do a crap ton of editing, and most of them was just like this photographer's behind, because they would like bend over to take a picture, but we're just looking straight at their booty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a pain.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was one of the more frustrating videos I've worked on, but photographers, there's a whole concoction of things that's going to make a wedding video great, and I kind of feel like in my gut I have a good sense when I arrive if it's going to be a good one or not, you know? Or if it's going to be medium or poor or whatever, at the venue itself, and also the vibe of the people I'll be around all day. And that plays a bigger role than you think. If it's a hard environment, then you're really struggling to get exactly what you need, because once you finish the ceremony and you still have the whole reception and everything to go through, all you're thinking about is how much you hate it and how much you want to get out of there. So you're there getting the footage, but you can't think creatively. Like, you can't think, how am I going to continue the process of this video? You're just going to be like, I'm just going to get the shots and I'll figure it out when I edit it, and I'm by myself and I can cool off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you gotta balance it, and you gotta stay calm. It's really important to get decent sleep the night before. It's important to have coffee at least. Get coffee in the morning. Maybe get yourself, something that's not too heavy for food or breakfast, but don't go with nothing. There's a lot of factors that's going to make the quality, because a wedding video, you're usually there the whole day, from them getting their hair done in the morning to when they leave in the vehicle.
That is a lot.
It's a long day. It can usually be like a 12-hour day, which is kind of standard in the industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, even then, it's still a little bit more of a slower process. So it's pretty much just go all day. But, wedding videography has been an easier avenue of freelance work for me.
Yeah.
Because I usually someone will post their video I did, and then I'll get someone else who's interested, or I'll get a referral from one of my other videographer friends, which, by the way, after the podcast, I have one to talk to you about regarding a wedding video.
Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. What do you think? Is there something you want me to elaborate on, or something you want to make a comment about?
No, just overall, good, bad, or eh.
I would say I don't dislike it as much as other filmmakers and other video production people who's done it say they hate it. Most video people hate doing wedding videos.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I hate it to the extent that some people describe. I think it just depends. Just depends on the people, depends on the venue, depends on the environment. I'm willing to do it, Someone's going to pay me to do it, and, pay me the prices I'm asking for. Heck, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be happy to do that.
Well, there you have it.
Maybe wedding videography is for you. Maybe it's not.
So, if you like this video, to kind of end it off,
like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. And
also, we're on Spotify now.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't
if
talk
you
about
wonder why this episode is episode 61 and not 60, when the other episode you see before this is 59, and you're like, where did 60 go? You want to tell them what happened to 60?
We have a new show.
Hold on, wait till the plane passes.
It's good stuff.
This is an important moment. Go ahead.
We have a podcast on Spotify. It's called The Midnight Special.
You got to slow down, man. You just glossed over it. This is important.
It's
called The Midnight Special.
It's a longer form podcast, so over an hour.
Yeah.
These are like 20 to 30 minute long podcasts.
And guess what?
It's audio only.
It came out last weekend.
Yeah.
You're watching this on freaking, Tuesday?
Yeah.
And you haven't even listened to it yet. It's there. Just go to Spotify, type in Wiseworks Podcast, look for episode 60. I think it'll stand out to you when you see it. It's called The Midnight Special. Me and Joshua.
Yeah.
We talked
and
for
it's
over an
exclusive
hour.
to Spotify. You can't find it anywhere else, not on YouTube. So go to Spotify, follow our podcast.
Yeah, follow us.
Listen to our stuff there, not watch it.
Yeah,
But
listen to it.
Listen to it.
And
Because-
also, every podcast, ever since this has started, is on Spotify.
Yeah.
This one that you're watching, if you're watching, it's on Spotify. You can watch this, you can listen to this one on Spotify. All of our podcasts are on Spotify, but the Midnight Special, it's audio only.
only on Spotify.
Exclusively on Spotify. You won't find it anywhere
Where
else. Spotify is free. You just have to sit through some ads just like here on YouTube. So if you're not on Spotify, go sign up, download the app. It's worth it. Everyone's going to Spotify.
Yeah. So go find us on Spotify and
Wiseworks Podcast. Thank you for subscribing.
Yep.
We will see you next video.
yes.